Wednesday noon. The AC hum flattened every breath as my son held up a glossy photo of me, squinting at a menu, and called it incapacity. Lawyers smirked, phones hovered, the gallery tilted forward like birds at a spill. The judge's clock read 12:03. Trust fund on the docket, real dispute on the caption. Philip said, he cannot even track his pills. The room laughed. The visible sin was easy mockery, and I wore it like borrowed clothes. But the trust was not bare. Before the hearing, I sat in my city condo, coffee bitter as pennies, vents ticking as the unit pushed cold air through old ducts. The table's glass held a ring from last night's cup. The thermostat showed 68. A folder waited by the sink, edges squared. A photo face down that I did not touch. I placed one pen above the other as if it mattered. Procedure always matters. The street below rattled with noon trucks, and I let them pass. In my inside pocket, small envelope cinched with a blue ribbon, pressed against my ribs like a second heartbeat. The ribbon had been there on March 12, 2019, and again on August 14, 2022, when a certain signature met a certain witness. Paper remembers. So do registries, when you feed them correctly and do not hurry. I tapped the envelope twice, then left it where it was. A ribbon can be decoration or a seal. Today it was neither, but that was only half the truth. Back in the courtroom, Philip leaned toward counsel and spoke as if sharing a joke. He retired because he could not keep up. I let my eyes rest on his cuffs. New, sharp, a gift from someone trying to buy a future. Father, this is for your safety, he said, not even bothering to look at me. I could smell cologne and copier toner mixing under the AC. The gallery shifted again. On the screen behind counsel, they displayed the trust summary like a trophy. The clerk read the caption in a neutral tone, case number 22 PR 6149, and the second hand on the courtroom clock clicked with a soft insect sound. Appearances, the judge said, bored until the laughter started. Counsel, control your gallery. A woman in the back dropped her pen. It struck tile and rolled. The AC hum set a cool lid on worn faces. I stood only enough for the judge to mark my presence. The file tabs on counsel's table showed green, red, then black. There's a way paper behaves when it knows it will win. It lies still. It does not advertise itself. My folder lay still. Philip's counsel rustled their exhibits like a fishing net. They had screen grabs, photos, a pharmacist's note ripped of context, and 3 affidavits, lined like Skittles. The trust fund digits marched properly. 1.2 million. They thought big numbers would make the room lean their way. Big numbers make rooms dizzy. They do not change the statute. Philip's wife angled her phone for a tasteful shot of my face. Smile, Dad, she said, sugar over stone, for the record. I let the camera take me the way weather takes a leaf. I could almost hear the automated caption they would paste on it. The pitying father, the brave son. The gallery liked it. A man in the second row shook his head, as if swallowing a story. Her nail tapped the glass once. She thought she had me, but that was only half the truth. 2 nights before, at 2:14 in the morning, I had printed a registry search request with an index number that only means anything if you have ever waited behind a records window while a clerk finishes tea. The document named an instrument by date, not by title. My printer coughed a corner and accepted correction. I wrote a note to myself in block letters. Wait, do not move first. The envelope on the counter kept its blue ribbon. The room smelled faintly of soap and dust. My neighbor knocked at 7:42 that same morning. You up early, Sam? He held a bag of rolls. Steam rose. You need a ride? I said, I will walk. He eyed the folder. You would have let them talk to you like that? I smiled. People will talk. Paper answers. He laughed confused, then squeezed my shoulder. You taught me to read, Elise. Do not forget your glasses. I tucked the glasses into my coat and palmed the elevator button. In the courtroom, Philip's counsel called their first witness, a family doctor, who remembered my pauses and forgot my arguments. He asked me the month, the doctor said. He needed a second to think. How many seconds? I asked when Cross came to me. 3 or 4. And how many forms did I complete that day? 3. I nodded. Without error. The doctor nodded, baffled by his own arithmetic. The gallery murmured, "Numbers behave, even when people do not." During a recess, I walked to the court corridor, where the soda machine always eats one coin and the light flickers like a tired eyelid. That is where I heard them. "If he pushes today, we stall," Philip said. "Then we move the account by Friday." "He will not push," she replied. "He likes appearances." Her shoes clicked as if spelling my name. I kept moving. Corridors separate courage from performance. They did not see the registry clerk waiting by the stairwell, but that was only half the truth. At home the night before, I had laid out 5 slips: a bank letter dated June 5, 2021, the trust agreement dated March 12, 2019, a notarization with a seal crisp enough to grate your finger, a renewal notice, and a receipt for certified delivery, number 702-20-410-00041-810-3649. I ran my thumb along the embossed seal and listened to the condo's old AC murmur. The envelope, with the blue ribbon, sat centered, small, pretending to be a keepsake. The registry clerk found me by the water fountain. She was new enough to still wear the badge like an honor. "Mr. Samuel," she said, nervous. "You asked about an instrument with a date that did not match the index description. I pulled it." She held a slim gray file. "I will bring it when the judge calls for filings." I nodded. "Thank you for your patience." She smiled. "I like quiet puzzles. Some people do. The rest prefer noise." Philip texted someone while counsel argued a motion to exclude. The screen flashed once as if winking at the court. I watched the judge's pen. He tapped it twice, then circled a line on a form. Circle means wait. Tap means think. Lawyers forget that judges have their own rhythms. A man coughed. The microphone snapped on and off. The clerk stacked slip sheets in 4s, not 5s. All of it ordinary. All of it useful if you are not in a hurry. When they called me incompetent, I reminded myself to breathe through the nose and count to 7. The breath steadied the hands. People think law is language. It is timing and paper. The blue ribbon tickled my chest when I inhaled, and went still when I exhaled, a metronome under wool. The trust sat on the screen like a fat prize hog. Philip loved that number. Love is a loud mistake in a room like this, but that was only half the truth. The judge peered over reading glasses. "Mr. Samuel, your counsel may proceed." My attorney leaned toward me. "Do you want me to go into the renewal clause?" I said, "Not yet." The AC hum deepened as the unit kicked. Somewhere a vent rattled like a quiet warning. I could see a smudge on the counsel table that looked like a fingerprint, dragged through dust. "Ask them about the dates they prefer not to see," I whispered. Procedure is patience performed in public. Philip smiled at the gallery. It landed. He thinks rooms are votes. He forgets that rooms do not sign. I slid my hand inside the jacket just long enough to touch the blue ribbon, not long enough to be seen. "Your Honor," counsel said, "we have a pharmacist's note from April 10th, 2024. The judge nodded. "Mark it." Marking is not verifying. Marking is a pause before an idea becomes weight. I counted the seconds until the click would rise. Philip's wife adjusted her scarf and spoke without being asked. "He fell in January. He forgot the kettle. He burned a pan." I looked at her steadily. "Did I call the fire department or did I put it out?" She blinked. "You put it out. And did I replace the pan?" "Yes." The judge's pen stopped. "Counsel, control your witness." She sank back, cheeks colored. The gallery fed on it. I let them. Small flames make people think they have seen a house burned. We introduced a page titled Renewal and Revival. It belonged to a packet too dull for display and too sharp to ignore. The header showed a file stamp that would matter later. I let the judge read the line that counts, the one that says a later instrument may revive prior terms if executed with formalities. Counsel nodded theatrically, as if humoring a hobby. The gallery sighed. No one wants doctrine at lunch. Doctrine does not hunger for applause. It waits. By 1:06, the judge had heard enough soft mockery to call it texture. He leaned our way, then theirs, like a slow boat on a flat lake. I am inclined, he said, and Philip's shoulders softened. Inclined is a pleasant word when you are certain of yourself. It is a cliff when you are not. My attorney shifted papers and found nothing but air. For the first time that day, I looked like a man who might lose. I let it show. A deadline lived inside the file like a moth. 21 days from service to challenge. 14 days from renewal to notice. 7 days from notice to freeze. The numbers were printed, not dramatic. The registry stamp on August 14, 2022, answered a silent question the room had not learned to ask. Philip's counsel spoke of my confusion. I thought of their calendar. Courts respect calendars the way sailors respect tide. No one argues with a moon and wins. I had an email from the bank's trust department timed at 9:17 a.m. that morning. It read like furniture, sturdy and plain. We acknowledge receipt of the court's pending matter. Pursuant to instruction, we maintain status quo until order. I read the line aloud. Philip rolled his eyes. He thinks that scares us. I said, I do not use fear. I use paper. The judge wrote one word on a pad. Hold. The clerk looked up, as if hearing her name inside a wall. Corridor again, breathe as a pulse. The registry clerk held the gray file like it might bruise. When you ask, she whispered, I bring this. It has the page you mentioned. The one that does not look like much. Thank you, Miss Avery, I said, soft enough not to echo. Wait for the judge, not counsel. She nodded. The soda machine swallowed a coin from a man who swore softly at it. Machines and courts do not return what you feed them, unless you ask correctly. We returned to counsel tables. My attorney raised a point and let it linger. There's a filing, Your Honor, he said, that predates their request for control and speaks to revival of terms they claim lapsed. Philip laughed as if at a street magician. Show the rabbit. He thought the theater was the trick. Theater is a box around a trick. The trick lives elsewhere. I adjusted my jacket, and the blue ribbon moved once under cloth. But that was only half the truth. The judge lifted his eyes. If there is a filing, call for it. The clerk stood. The gallery leaned. My attorney looked at me as if asking permission to breathe. I shook my head once. Your Honor, I said, my voice flat as paper, I request the court take judicial notice of the registry extract for instrument dated March 12, 2019, revived August 14, 2022. Miss Avery moved toward the bench with the gray file. Philip stopped smiling. I kept my hand away from the ribbon. Miss Avery laid the gray file on the ledge beneath the bench, palms open like a nurse delivering instruments. The judge nodded once. Mark the registry extract. Philip whispered to counsel with his jaw tight. The AC hummed and a sheen formed on faces not used to noon lights. I could taste dry paper. That chalky drift courts never seemed to sweep. The judge read silently, eyes slowing over the phrase, revive prior terms. Silence gathered with purpose. I counted to 7 again. Philip broke at first. Your Honor, whatever that page is, it is not binding. The original trust expired. He gestured toward the screen as if pixels were law. My attorney rose. Respectfully, the revival clause is not a rumor. It is stamped, witnessed, and cross-indexed. The registry keeps time more strictly than memory. The judge lifted a finger. I will read it into the record after a short recess. The gallery murmured, hunger sharpening, because lunch was now a promise denied. In recess, I stood near the window with a glass breathed faint heat back at the cool room. Philip walked up, wide smile over narrow eyes. You taught me tactics, he said. I learned speed. I answered, speed does not help it, you run in place. He chuckled. You will be comfortable, father. We will find a facility. I watched a pigeon ride a slip of air. You use the word we like a deed, I said. Check who signs it. He leaned closer. I could smell mint and impatience. Sign now, he whispered, tapping a hurried draft of a limited power of attorney, paper still warm from a portable printer. Make this simple. I let my eyes move across the header. No notary. Wrong caption. Wrong county. You rushed, I said. It chose. He hissed, you think that ribbon scares me. I said, Ribbons are for packages. He smirked. You wrapped your own retirement. I smiled, because he thought that was clever. Back in the city condo last night, I had pressed the blue ribbon to my lips, the way Greta used to press a list to mine when we packed for trips. Not prayer. Habit. A way to keep the mind from wandering into useless rooms. The AC clattered, then settled. I wrote down 3 words on a sticky note. Wait, ask, order. The microwave clock read 11:24. I rinsed a cup and set it upside down to dry, its ring a metronome of intent. When court reconvened, the judge spoke just above the hum. The registry extract shows a codicil dated August 14, 2022. Reviving terms from March 12, 2019. Proper witnesses, proper notary, index cross-reference. He touched the page. It appears facially valid. Philip's counsel rose quickly. Your Honor, we object to judicial notice without foundation from the custodian. The judge nodded. Call the clerk. Ms. Avery stepped forward, steady voice. Badge straight. I retrieved this from book 412, page 1189 per request. The gallery stilled. Counsel tried to shake her. How do you know this is the same instrument requested? She answered. The request cited a date mismatch and renewal term. Only one entry fit. It carried a blue corner slip and index stamp R220814. Chain of custody. I received it at 10:36, placed it in the bench queue at 12:11. The judge was satisfied. Paperwork had spoken in the only accent this room respected. Philip drummed his finger once, a staccato admission he could not file. My attorney asked leave to publish a single sentence. He read it. Revival of prior dispositive terms shall occur upon execution of this codicil under seal, with identical trustee instructions and status quo until court order. The phrase court order moved through the room like cold air opening a door. Philip's wife whispered, he cannot do this. I kept my face composed. The judge said, we will address capacity after documentary issues. One thing at a time. One thing at a time is a blade. Philip pivoted to theater again. Father, look at me. You always said families be courts. We can end this. Say you trust me. The words were polished to a shine he thought would blind. I said, I trust calendars. A man in back coughed a laugh he tried to swallow. Philip's counsel pointed at my hands. They shake. I lifted them, steady as keys on a table. They pick locks, I said. The judge almost smiled. Almost is enough to cut a day in half. By the halfway mark, the case looked like a coin rolling on its edge, everyone waiting to see which face would slap tile. My attorney faltered over a clause and lost footing. Your Honor, I believe subsection B references notice to adverse claimants by certified mail. The judge frowned. Belief is not citation. My attorney colored. Philip's shoulders lifted again. Losing is useful if it is scheduled. The AC hummed lower. A refrigerator dream. I let discomfort spread across my face and stay. Escalation needed an edge. We produced the certified mail receipt, the one with the number ending 3649, and the bank's date stamp showing delivery on August 18, 2022 at 9:52. Notice perfected, I said, careful to keep my voice level. Philip's counsel tried to wave it away. Different matter. Same account, I said. Same trustee. The judge leaned forward. Let me see. He compared headers, subheaders, and the quiet arithmetic of institutional language. Institutions are boring until they are weapons. The bailiff opened the side door, and a tide of cafeteria smells, salt and grease, slept into the cool room before the door sealed again. Hunger made the gallery restless. Philip's wife whispered, wrap it up. He replied, after this order, we move funds by Friday, 3 p.m. He forgot where he was. The judge looked up. Excuse me, move funds. Counsel pinched his sleeve. He backpedaled. Hypothetically, Your Honor. The judge wrote another word. Freeze. The blue ribbon in my pocket. Rested. Satisfied. I walked the court corridor once more, to sip stale water that tasted of coins. That is where I heard the second thing they did not mean me to hear. If the revival sticks, we pivot to guardianship, counsel said. Emergency petition ex parte before he can counter. Philip grunted assent, a plan made of noise. I checked my watch. 1:44. I texted my attorney a single word. Timeline. Patience is not waiting. It is choosing the only hour that answers back. Back inside, re-asked to mark the bank's 9:17 email. Philip scoffed. An email is not a wall. But it is a lock, I said, when coupled with policy. The bank's guidelines lay in our folder like a dull brick. Page 7, paragraph 3, froze distributions upon pending judicial determination. The judge skimmed, then nodded. Reasonable. The court appreciates restraint. Philip rolled his neck. How long does this parade go on? Until papers stop talking, I said. The AC hummed, unbothered by impatience. Micro hook or not? The room needed contrast. My attorney asked permission to play a voicemail. The judge allowed it. A thin recording filled the speakers, dated last Friday at 6:12 p.m. Philip's voice, hurried. Move the portfolio into the family account before Wednesday. Dad will not notice. He likes his lists. He had sent it to the wrong person. The gallery inhaled as one. He blanched. That is out of context, he said. Context is the costume word picks when it wants to hide. He turned on me like a man remembering his first real fall. You made me this way, he said, as if that were a defense. You taught me to press advantage. I said, I taught you to read rules. He spat. Same difference. The judge raised the palm. Counsel, seat your client. Philip sat, heat flushed against AC chill, a red square in a white room. His wife did not touch him. She watched the money on the screen the way sailors watch weather. To steady the room, I took out a pen and aligned it with the table edge. Your Honor, capacity is alleged because my son wants control, not because I lack it. I drafted wills for 35 years. Today I ask only that paper speak cleanly. The judge nodded. He did not care for speeches, but he respected clean. He turned to counsel. Do you dispute the stamp? Silence. Stamps matter because they are time-wearing armor. Time in armor is hard to move. Philip tried compassion like a borrowed coat. Father, you are alone now. Let us help. He said alone the way people say broken. I looked at his hands. No calluses, no ink. Alone is not the same as weak, I said. Alone is quiet enough to hear instructions. He blinked. From who? From statutes. Laughter in the back row tumbled out and died under the judge's glare. The AC clicked louder, as if applauding polite. The blue ribbon warmed against my ribs. We moved. 2 accounts. My attorney introduced a small ledger page, not dramatic, just numbers and notes. These entries reflect routine disbursements for utilities and taxes. Nothing exotic. Philip's lawyer pounced. Where is the investment detail? Under seal, my attorney said. Per Protective Order 09-2022. The judge nodded. I signed that. Authority tastes like iron when it returns to the mouth that minted it. Philip slumped a degree. People do not like when doors they plan to kick turn out to be walls. At 2:03, the judge signaled fatigue. Counsel, I will hear 5 more minutes each, then I will rule on interim control. 5 minutes is a life or a haircut, depending on what you do with it. Philip's counsel introduced a neighbor's affidavit about a misdelivered package. I had not noticed for 2 days. He is inattentive, I said. It was fertilizer. The gallery blinked. For tomatoes, I added, they did fine. Small facts are better than speeches. They fit in pockets and survive. My turn. I asked the judge to look again at the Codicil's witness signatures. Your Honor will recognize the second name. He did. A retired probate judge had witnessed, a quiet friend who still wrote with the patience of a man who believes ink should last. The gallery rustled. Philip's counsel stammered. Coincidence. The judge shook his head. Relevance noted. Names can steady a ship when everyone insists the water is imaginary. The blue ribbon held small, unshowy, certain. I did not touch it. Philip whispered again. Last tool in the box. You are embarrassing yourself. Sign the POA. We will give you an allowance. You like Tuesdays at the diner. I said, I like Wednesdays in court. He laughed without sound, cheeks tight. What did you think would happen when you retired? I thought I would stop arguing and keep reading. He shook his head. You are not the hero here. Heroes need crowds, I said. I need a registry and a clock. The clock obliged. We closed with a procedural request. Your Honor, given the revival and notice, we move for an interim order maintaining trustee control per existing terms and enjoining transfers pending determination. The judge nodded, pen poised. Philip's counsel objected, voice thin from too much noon. This is an ambush by nostalgia. The judge wrote slowly. It is an ambush by compliance. He looked at me. Anything further, Mr. Samuel? I shook my head. The AC hummed agreement. The gallery exhaled, hungry and watchful. The judge began to speak, careful as a man stepping off a curb into traffic. Interim control remains with the current trustee. No transfers. Status quo until court order. Capacity hearing set 2 weeks from today, 9 a.m. He lifted his eyes to Philip. Counsel will caution clients against self-help. The words self-help hit like flat thunder. Philip blinked first. I did not move. The blue ribbon pierced calm into quaff. Outside, sirens Dopplered past and then were nothing again. As people stood, a final murmur rolled through the room like wind under a door. Philip's wife said, 2 weeks is nothing. She meant everything. Philip stared at the gray file, then at me, then at the exit. We are not done, he said. I answered, courts are clocks. You can argue with hands or you can read them. The judge left. The gallery scattered, perfume and stale coffee crossing in the air. I waited, still as paper that knows its own weight. 2 weeks felt like a bridge some men fall through. I did not plan to fall. The corridor smelled of old tile and lemon cleaner. Ms. Avery approached with a whisper of paper. There is something else, Mr. Samuel. The Codicil references trustee instructions filed under a service agreement addendum. She held a pink slip with a stamp timed 10:04 a.m. the day after the Codicil. Book 413, page 27. Philip hovered, pretending to check messages. I thanked her without turning my head. Outside the courthouse, the heat pressed like a hand despite the cool halls. I sat in a low stone wall and dialed the bank's trust desk. Please note the interim order and the service agreement addendum at Book 413, page 27, I said. Reference policy, page 7, paragraph 3. The officer answered, status unchanged until court order. You will have one this afternoon, I said. We will await it. Calm voices move heavy objects. I put the phone away and let the blue ribbon rest. Philip marched up with a smile like glare. Nice trick. You bought time. Time buys itself if you file it, I said. He leaned close. Guardianship next. We tell them you wander. We tell them you eat cereal for dinner. Lucky for you, I read labels, I said. He snorted. You are not funny. Neither is theft. He flinched at the word. People prefer softer crimes. Words that do not bruise. The ribbon shifted when I laughed. He saw it move and looked away. Back at the city condo, the AC purred steady at 68, and the kitchen smelt faintly of orange cleaner. I spread the pink slip, the certified receipt, and the Codicil copy under the good light. I wrote a small list, letters, not numbers. A for addendum, C for Codicil, O for order. I drank water from a glass warm at the rim. I spoke aloud once to the quiet. Patience. The word tasted like tin. The blue ribbon lay still beside the pen. At 3:12 p.m., my attorney called. They filed for emergency guardianship. Ex parte at 4. Good, I said. We will bring the addendum. Silence, then a low whistle. You are sure it says what you think? I do not think. I read. We met at the courthouse entrance and moved through the metal detector while the guard eyed our stack. A lot of paper, he said. Enough, I answered. The hearing room felt smaller, the AC colder, the faces hungrier than before. The guardianship judge wore fatigue like a shawl. Emergency requests should be rare, he said. Philip's counsel painted me as a man drifting between rooms. He loses track of days. I said, today is Wednesday. The judge checked his calendar. Correct. Counsel tried again. He leaves the stove on. I use an electric kettle, I said. The judge held up a palm. Let us proceed to documents. We laid the pink slip first, then the registry extract. The hum of the vent drew teeth. My attorney placed the addendum where the judge could read without squinting. Service Agreement Addendum, pursuant to trust administration, requires court order before any change of control. Filed August 15, 2022, cross-indexed with the Codicil. The judge read slowly, then twice. He looked at Philip. If this stands, guardianship would not alter trustee instructions without further order. Why the emergency? Counsel shuffled for a reason and found only adjectives. The judge does not rule on adjectives. He rules on nouns and stamps. Philip tried a story. He called me at 2 a.m., crying. About what? The judge asked. About a list, Philip said. I spoke. About Greta. The judge nodded once. A human note in a hard room. I said nothing more. You do not spend the dead to buy a ruling. Philip pressed. He forgets where he puts things. Not today, I said. The blue ribbon lay visible now beside the codicil. The judge watched it as if it hummed. Maybe it did. We presented one more page that rooms always underestimate. An escrow hold letter initialed by the bank's compliance officer. Pending court determination. All outbound transfers require dual authorization and court order, I read. Date stamped August 18, 2022, at 9:52, mirroring the certified delivery time. The judge lifted his pen. I can grant or deny in part, he said. Here is my part. Petition denied without prejudice. Interim court order to maintain trustee status and freeze attempted transfers. Set review in 14 days. Philip's mouth formed the word how without sound. The judge faced him. Because you attempted to preempt the court while chanting emergency. The bailiff retrieved a printout from a side door, still warm, ink smelling like a new road. The order bore the seal like a coin just hammered. The judge signed with a flat stroke. Counsel will distribute certified copies today. The AC answered with a steady breath. The gallery, Finner here, learned the sound of something heavier than sympathy. In the corridor, I heard the third thing no one wanted me to hear. Philip said, call the broker. We use the family account subnumber and pull cash before the freeze reaches them. His lawyer hissed, do not put felonies on a phone. I stepped into view. The freeze reached first. I called it 10:07. He stared, hunting for a number to beat mine. Numbers do not duel, they file. Miss Avery appeared behind me with a small stack and an efficient smile. She handed me 2 certified copies and the service sheet. I will log distribution at 4:22, she said. Philip stared at the embossed seal, like a man reading weather he cannot bargain with. I thanked her. You were fast. You were clear, she said. Clarity makes allies in dull places. My attorney checked the time. Bank by 5 o'clock. We moved in a small procession that felt like something ceremonial, and also like a walk after groceries. Ceremony is only steps with stamps. At the bank lobby, the air smelled of carpet and caution. A digital sign offered 3.4% on certificates, gentle-baked. We approached the trust desk, where a woman with gray at the temples kept 3 stacks in 3 colors. She looked up. Mr. Samuel. Court order, I said, sliding the certified copy under glass. She read quickly. Her eyebrow lifted at the escrow hold paragraph. We have you at status pending. This moves you to status frozen. Do you wish trustee confirmation printed? Yes. Philip arrived just then, breath fast, tie crooked. We are family, he said to the officer. We can authorize. She pointed at the seal. This authorizes. He tried charm like spare currency. We have plans. So does the court, she said. I watched his hands. They trembled once, then stopped. We need the portfolio liquid, he said. You need a different order, she replied. The printer warmed, coughed, and delivered a narrow slip that would decide the rest of his week. The officer stamped the slip twice. Each strike a small ceremonial hammer. Trustee remains per revived terms. No external transfers. Internal maintenance allowed. Review in 14 days. She initialed with breast glitters. Philip looked at me. You set this trap years ago. I set a rule, I said. You carried bait. He shook his head. You are cruel. The AC vent above the desk sighed. I am consistent, I said. The blue ribbon lay on the counter between us. like a fuse that never needed fire. Outside, dusk gathered in clean layers. My neighbor texted a photo of tomatoes stacked in a blue bowl and wrote, "They did fine." I smiled at the screen and put it away. The courthouse steps held a few smokers and a man arguing softly with a parking meter. I thought of lists and of Greta exactly once more. A good balance sheet of a life, not a prayer. A reckoning of small line items that outlast larger speeches. The ribbon rested where it belonged. Back in the hearing room for the final housekeeping, the judge asked, "Anything further today?" Philip's counsel tried for delay. "We request access to view account internals." The judge shook his head. "Protective Order 09-2022 still stands." He turned to me. "Mr. Samuel, you may submit a proposed order consolidating matters." I nodded. "By Friday, 10 o'clock. Philip muttered, "You will not make it." I said, "Calendars do not care who believes in them." The bailiff hid a smile and tapped the door once. We filed the service sheet at the registry window where a clock with a missing number 9 ticked with stubborn confidence. Miss Avery logged distribution at 4:22 as promised and slid a receipt under the glass. "Do you need extras?" she asked. "One more," I said. She produced it, stamped and neat. The AC above the window hummed like a large cat. Philip stood in the lobby, phone pressed tight, speaking low and urgent to someone who could not help him now. The gallery from the morning had thinned to a few who enjoyed endings. One man approached and said, "I thought he had you." "He thought that too," I said. He nodded at the ribbon. "What is that for?" "Reminder to wait," I said. He laughed quietly. "Wish I had one." "You do," I said, tapping a sign behind him that read "Records." "You just have to ask the right window." He looked at it as if it had been newly installed at 5:01. The judge returned for a final minute that tasted like iron and ink. Interim order is entered. Registry extract and addendum are incorporated by reference. Clerk will circulate certified copies. Any violation will be met with contempt. He set the pen down. I stepped to the rail, accepted the signed court order, and turned without a word. The blue ribbon touched the page as I pressed the seal flat with my palm. Then I handed the order to the trust officer through the glass.